You say you have a proven strategy for reducing the crime rate here in Hernando County. Can you expand upon that just a little bit?
I wish I could say this was complicated. I really do. But it involves boots on the street policing. And we have so many neat, newfangled terms for old-fashioned policing. Assertive policing means that every focus, every system, every job description in a law enforcement agency, the primary focus is public safety and keeping the streets safe. We've got to take a look at everything that we're doing in the sheriff's office, and if it's not focused on fighting crime and crime prevention, we need to refocus it. It also involves sweating the small stuff before it becomes big stuff. Making those contacts on the street. When you see three hoodlums standing at 12 o'clock at night at the payphone at a head station, you do what we call an officer-citizen contact. You go up to talk to them. You know what's going to happen? As soon as you get out of your car, they're going to throw their dope and run. And then we could opt to take our right to chase them and see what they were up to. To go into areas and to target and focus the areas that are being victimized, and to utilize all the assets that we have available to us to do that. Also, one of the first things we need to do in an assertive policing philosophy is to set the standard, to send the message. We've got thousands of warrants sitting in the warrant section right now. Now granted, there's only a certain number of warrants detectives that can go out and serve those warrants. But one phone call to Florida Department of Law Enforcement, and one phone call to the Federal Marshal's Office, Brooksville Police Department, and we'll put together a task force, a 2-week strike force. We're going to download as many of those warrants as we can that need to have a little due diligence done on them, and we're going to go out and we're going to pick up 200 to 300 people in a couple of weeks. And at the same time, we're going to take the handcuffs off the Vice Narcotics Unit, and we're going to bang search warrants, crack search warrants, meth houses. Do that for a couple of weeks, and immediately, it's not magic, it's just policing, your crime rate is going to start to plunge. Because when you start sending out that message that we're serious about crime, if you're a criminal, this is going to be a very inhospitable place to do business, your crime rate drops. But then once you do that, you have to continue hammering. You have to continue supporting strategic operations. You can't just say, go out, work the streets, and answer your calls. Yeah, those things have to be done, but then you have to come up with strategic operations to go and target those areas where crime is happening. You have to take the fight to the crime before the crime has a chance to take the fight to you.
Right. You mentioned Bison Narcotics. Now, I understand that you have some experience in Bison Narcotics. Tell us a little bit about that experience, and also, what other things have you done in law enforcement?
Well, I guess it's probably easiest to start at the beginning. I started as a midnight shift deputy working in a place called Shady Hills, which is just over the county line in Pasco County. I felt very comfortable in Shady Hills because I was born and raised in Brooksville. And a lot of the folks I dealt with in Shady Hills were the same type of people that I grew up with in Brooksville. So I worked midnight shift for 1.5 years out there. And then I saw, and what's unique, not trying to sound too much like a dinosaur, but we had one guy, me, working Shady Hills, and then we had 3 other people working the mid and southwest Pasco County on midnight shift. So there really wasn't backup. So you learned how to talk real well. I did that for 1.5 years and really enjoyed it. But then I saw, I was at a death investigation. I saw a guy show up wearing a suit and tie, and he got out his fingerprint brush and he started brushing for fingerprints and taking pictures. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, that's pretty neat. I wonder what that's all about. And what we called it back then, this was before the days of CSI and forensics, we called that the Identification Division, the ID Bureau, which ultimately morphed into what we now know as a forensics unit. Thought that was neat. I have to do that. So I put in a transfer request. And about 2 or 3 months later, they transferred me in there. So I immediately went to school, became a certified fingerprint examiner, blood spatter guy, and got my crime scene photography certifications, and did that for about 1 year. Then we had a new sheriff. He came in and he was concerned we had law enforcement people working in ID, which he changed the name of immediately to the forensics unit, civilianized it, and asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? Where do you want to go? You can't be in that unit anymore. So I made the choice that I think I'd like to be just a general crimes detective. So I went into CID and worked burglaries, homicides, rapes, frauds, forgeries for about another year and a half. And then I got the itch to do something different. And you got to realize this was back in the mid to late 80s now. And probably the neatest job that anybody could imagine in law enforcement back then, because of a show called Miami Vice, was to work vice and narcotics. So it took me 2 or 3 months to get into vice and narcotics, but I went in. And I spent probably about 2 to 3 years as an undercover detective. Got shot at 4 times. I was doing a crack deal, and a guy stuck a case cutter in my neck and tried to slit my throat. He tried to rob me, and was able, thank God, to survive that. Had some really hairy experiences. It was a lot of fun, but the problem was we were working so many hours, and I met my soon-to-be wife, and she never saw me. So I went back into general crimes detectives. Took the sergeant's test and got promoted to sergeant. I spent a year as a patrol sergeant at that point. Well, actually, a year and a half as a patrol sergeant. Then they asked me to go back into narcotics because they were forming another squad and they wanted me to be a narcotics sergeant. So for the next 10 years, I was a detective sergeant in narcotics, supervising the undercover folks and the undercover operations. I studied for and took the lieutenant's test. And I thought that if by some stroke of luck I were to be promoted, because we had just incredible sergeants that were up for it, I was heading back to the street. Well, I did get promoted, and to my amazement, they kept me in narcotics, but then they built almost like a bureau around that position, to where at this point in time, now I was in charge of 2 narcotics units, a vice unit, a tactical narcotics team, pharmaceutical diversion, fugitive warrants, criminal intelligence, and for some reason or another, the aviation unit. I didn't know anything about aviation. Didn't like to fly, didn't know what kind of gas you put in an airplane, but for some reason I had the aviation unit as well. I spent the next 9 years as a commander over that division or bureau until I retired. So altogether, Wendy, 2 decades in narcotics. It's something I'm very passionate about. I will debate anybody that says that there is no nexus to narcotics and 90% of the crime that we see on the streets today. So that is why I will tell you right now, the narcotics unit of Hernando County Sheriff's Office will get a lot of attention. They'll get a lot of love from a sheriff who realizes and believes that all these things go right back to narcotics and alcohol. We've got to spend a lot of time attacking those issues.
I agree. I absolutely agree. Now, in speaking about your experience, personal law enforcement experience, some people might also want to know, what other type of experience do you have, like educational, that's going to prepare you for the job of sheriff?
Well, I've got an associate's degree in police technology, a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and a master's degree in criminal justice administration. Upon retiring from the sheriff's office, I was offered the opportunity to go back to my alma mater, St. Leo University, and reinvent their department of campus safety, which I did. It was a 3-year process. It had a lot of systems that were back in the 70s. There really was nothing was done on computers. They were still writing reports by hand and filing them in a file cabinet. There was no early warning system, mass notification system, nothing of that nature. There was the crisis response plan was non-existent. So it took me about 3 years to totally reinvent that, And after I was there for about a year in that position, I had the opportunity to join the criminal justice faculty. So since then, I've been wearing two hats. I'm still the executive director of public safety, and I'm also very active in teaching criminal justice administration, leadership, criminal investigation, and just a whole host of other courses.
Okay, so you've been retired how long now?
Since 2007.
Okay, and are you still actively involved as a law enforcement officer somewhere?
Yes, I'm actually a reserve officer. To keep my certification active and to stay in the business that I love. I'm fortunate to where in my status as a reserve officer, I'm allowed to do a lot of investigations, some internal affairs investigations, some cold case homicide type stuff. So absolutely, I'm still a badge and gun toting cop. Yes,
Very good, very good.